Hey, Steeler Nation, what's going on? This is Big B, Brian Hanley, and this is Steelers Almighty. Steelers Almighty, we are the fastest growing Steelers podcast on YouTube, and that is thanks to you guys. Yes, absolutely. We appreciate all the support out there that you guys have given us, man. We are absolutely loving this thing. We got a great show lined up for you guys today. Let's go over some of these things here. First thing we're going to talk about is Justin Fields. Is battling for the QB job. Mike Tomlin came out and said it's an absolute battle. And so far in pads, we've seen nothing from Justin Fields that says that he isn't trying to win this job and is playing outstanding football. Next up, we got a football game coming up, people. Preseason game number 1 is here. We talked about football being back at training camp. We talked about it being back when pads are on. Now it's really back. We're able to hit somebody else. I'm really looking forward to seeing this first preseason game. Next, we've got, 3 Steelers are in the CBS Sports NFL Top 100. We're going to go over that and break down the difference between what it looks like on the CBS NFL 100 and the player NFL 100. There's a difference between the two. Steelers kind of got shortchanged on a little bit of that. We'll talk to you about that. And then last but not least, we got to talk about this Brandon Aiyuk stuff. Now, we're not going to go into the crazy, stupid rumors and when's it going to happen, yada, yada, yada. We're not going to do that. We're going to break down how did we even get here with Brandon Aiyuk and what would he look like in a Steelers uniform? What is the team? What is all of that going to look like moving forward? So we'll get into all that and more. Again, weekly, you can find us here on YouTube at youtube.com/Steelers Almighty. Again, we're on all the social media platforms at Steelers Almighty and anywhere that you get a podcast. If you prefer the audio version, remember, we are at Steelers Almighty. So we appreciate all of that. Remember to like, follow, subscribe, especially leave the comments because we love going back and forth with you guys. I appreciate this. Let's get into the show, people. Let's get into this. So the first things first, man, playing some really good football. Mike Tomlin has come out and said, even though the depth chart is out and Russell Wilson is number 1 on that depth chart, he made it a point to say that, yeah, this is a competition. Now, can that just be coach speak? Possibly. But let's talk about Justin Fields. What we've seen from him so far in pads, he's played outstanding football. He just has. Now, early in minicamp, in OTAs, even in training camp before the pads came on, he didn't look great. It was the same old Justin Fields, what we saw in Chicago. Held on to the ball way too long. Inaccurate. Ball placement was bad. Just a lot of things that you thought, okay, well, this guy, he'll be a backup for a year, and then we're going to move on. He throws the pads on people. He is a totally different quarterback. At least he has been up to this point. He has been a totally different guy. And that's all good for the Steelers. His ball placement has been good. His decision-making has been outstanding. Getting outside of the pocket, running when he needed to run, on design runs, being elusive, being the athlete that he is. He's played outstanding football. I'm not saying he's played mistake-free football. I'm just saying what he has done has alleviated some of the concerns that a lot of Steelers fans, myself included, had about Justin Fields. He's played well. Now it's training camp, so I don't want people to go overboard, but he's done a really, really good job. One of the things that he's done, he's built some chemistry with George Pickens. Now, you can say, well, it's just training camp. It doesn't mean a whole lot. Well, yeah, it does. Yeah, it does, especially if this is truly a quarterback battle, and we'll get into that here in a minute. But if it is, he's building that chemistry with George Pickens. George Pickens even came out and said so. He loved the chemistry that those two were building. They're young players. And if this is something that can move on in the future, this is all good stuff, people. And you're looking right here. I mean, now, don't get me wrong. George Pickens makes a lot of quarterbacks look good. But that's a great throw. Outside, where his receiver can catch it. The ball's inbounds. It's an outstanding catch, and it's probably a better catch than throw. But don't get me wrong, the throw was on the money. And he's playing some good football. That's Joey Porter Jr. over there in coverage, too. Justin Fields is doing his thing. Him and George Pickens look really, really good together right now. They do. Now, why did he get all of these reps? That's a thing that we have to maybe take a little bit of a dive into. Well, first off, I think that he got the reps because Russell Wilson was probably a little banged up. I mean, he got hurt. So this was an opportunity for the Steelers to say, okay, Russell Wilson's hurt. Let's see what Justin can do. Let's kind of slow play Russell coming back, and let's give all the reps to Justin Fields and see how he handles it. Well, in pads, he's handled it extremely well. He just has, people. It's just a fact. I'm not saying that is going to translate to the games. Hopefully it would. But from what we see, all we can go by is what we're watching in training camp and practice. It looks good. It just looks good. Now, Mike Tomlin, or should I say the Steelers in general, they might be saying, yeah, let's see what we got here. Let's give him these reps and see what we have. You know, we traded for this guy. What can he do? And he's doing something, you know. Now, another thing is maybe Russell Wilson was a little bit more hurt than what they let on, and that he actually needed the rest to get back. Now, I don't think there was any rush to get Russell Wilson back, but maybe he was hurt more than what the Steelers let on, and they needed Fields to do it because Fields got all the 1 reps. So there's 2 trains of thought there. I think it was more. Now, there's another one out there, but this one's just a stupid rumor. Well, they may want to trade Fields, so they put all this stuff on tape so they can trade him. Why do you want to trade him? I mean, what would be the purpose of trading him? To me, that doesn't make any sense. Doesn't make any sense. So I won't even, I'm not going to take that seriously. But as far as everything else, Justin Fields has looked good, people. He has looked good. Is it really a quarterback battle? That's the thing that we have to ask ourselves. Is it really a battle? Well, Mike Tomlin, again, has come out and said, yes, it's a battle. It doesn't mean that Russell Wilson still isn't the number 1 quarterback based on the depth chart, but it does mean that there's a battle. Now, look, Mike Tomlin can give us coach speak from time to time, but the one thing that I don't think a lot of people will say about him is that he lies or creates controversy when there doesn't need to be controversy on his team. If there's a number 1 starter, that's the guy, he would just say so. And he said, yeah, that's the depth chart, but it is a battle. Should we take him at his word? Yeah, I think we should. I think we should take him at his word. It doesn't mean that no matter what Justin Fields does, it doesn't mean that he can overtake Russell Wilson for the number 1 job, especially if Russell Wilson doesn't play bad. He came back off of his injury and, came back into practice. And that was the one thing about him. Looked sharp. Didn't have rust. So, while he was out there doing minimal things, when he came back and got into team drills, he looked really good. So I think it's a QB battle. I think Russ has got the lead. He's not going to play in the first preseason game, and we'll get into that a little bit here. But I think Justin Fields is doing himself very, very well. He's representing himself well, and who knows? Maybe he is the quarterback of the Pittsburgh Steelers in the future. That's a strong possibility. Again, based on what we've seen in preseason, obviously we want to see something move forward, or do we? Especially if he's not the starter, the only way he's going to get on the field is if Russell Wilson is either hurt or playing bad. Do we want that as a Steeler fan? I would venture to say no. But it is what it is, people. It is what it is. Let's move on here. All right. Football, people. Football's back. We got a preseason game, number 1. Houston's coming to town. Now, if you guys remember, and I'm sure that you do, the Houston Texans beat the brakes off the Pittsburgh Steelers last season. That game wasn't close really at all. 30-6. CJ Stroud did whatever he wanted, threw for 306 yards, 2 touchdowns. Nico Collins looked like the second coming of Jerry Rice, 7 for 166 and 2 touchdowns. Up and down the field, it looked like Nico Collins was just doing wind sprints. It was an ugly, ugly football game. Kenny Pickett was out there spinning into sacks, getting himself hurt. It was just bad, bad football. by the Pittsburgh Steelers. Got beat up. You look at some of the Texans. Now, granted, this is not a regular season game, so let's not get crazy about this. And I think maybe Houston might play their stars for a little bit. But to me, it's not about winning or losing this football game. Houston's got some good stars. C.J. Stroud, Nico Collins, Tank Dell, back off of injury. Joe Mixon, we're familiar with him from his days at Cincinnati. Danielle Hunter. The Texans are trying to win the Super Bowl. Let's just call it what it is. The Texans are loading up and trying to win the Super Bowl now. They want to put their name in the conversation to being able to win a Super Bowl right now. They don't want to wait. They said we're ahead of the curve, and it's time for us to step on the gas pedal. We got our quarterback. He's a lot better than what we even anticipated that he was going to be. Our team is better. They got a really good young coach. I like what Houston's doing. Having said all of that, it's a preseason game, so we're not going to see the stars from either side do a whole lot. So here are the things that I'm interested in, and I think as Steeler fans, we should probably be interested in. The first thing is, how long are we going to see Justin Fields on the field? You know, Russell Wilson isn't going to play. That's already been determined. We knew that he wasn't going to play. You can't sit out all that time in training camp and then come right in and play. That in a preseason game, it's not going to happen. So Mike Tomlin said that Fields will get a couple series. Is that 2, 3, 4? I don't know. If it's a long drive, 8, 10, 12 play drive that they go on, is that all that he needs to be out there? Now, if he's really in a quarterback battle, I'm not sure that you want your potential starting quarterback out there running with the 2 offensive line. I'm just not sure. And maybe the Steelers are going to do that, but I would venture to say he's going to be out there with the number 1 offensive line the whole time, and won't be out there that often. The next thing is they're going to establish a physicality on both sides of the football. Although it's a preseason game, you got to be physical. You got to show what you want to be. It can't just be in practice. Now you have an opportunity to play against somebody else. Establish your physicality, running the football, stopping the run, getting after it on both sides of the line. That's what the Steelers want to be, and you can start all of that in preseason. Yes, you can. I know some people are going to poo-poo on it because it's preseason. No, absolutely not. Establish what you're trying to do. That can be done. It absolutely can be done. And I think it's very important for the Steelers to do that. The next thing is the Steelers are counting on a lot of rookies. Rookies and maybe first-year guys or second-year guys that didn't play all that much. Get the butterflies out, especially the rookies. You know, football is football, and I understand that, but it's still a preseason game. But a preseason game, that's something that these rookies have not experienced. They've never played in the National Football League. There will be butterflies. This is an opportunity for them to get this out of their system. Is it like a regular season game? No, I understand. And as much as you want to mentally act like it is for some of these front-end rookies that are going to be playing, it's not. Having said that, you're still going to be nervous. This is a good opportunity to get out on the football field, hit somebody, get hit, and get those butterflies out of your system and get some experience playing in a National Football League game with the speed of the game from somebody other than your own current teammates. I think it's very, very important to do that. Now, I mentioned it just a minute ago. It's the chance to hit somebody else. I think they relish in a role of hitting somebody else. All this time, you've day after day beating up against your own teammates. And we've seen a couple of fights. I'm surprised we haven't seen more. They didn't have a joint practice at all. That comes next week. But now is their opportunity to go out there and pop pads against somebody else. And I'm telling you, they're looking forward to doing that. You know, playing football and practicing against your teammates is one thing. Going out there in a scrimmage against somebody else, an organized scrimmage against somebody else, yeah, best believe they're wanting to pop somebody. Again, starters aren't going to play a ton. if at all. I would be surprised if you saw TJ Watt. I know you're not going to see Cam Hayward out there. So I'd be surprised if you saw a lot of front end guys. I think we can see some offensive line, though. We can see some of that. But getting the rookies out there and getting the pads popping against somebody else that's not your teammate, I think that's very, very important. Last but not least, got to get out of it healthy. Get out of it healthy. I understand that you can't control injuries, but you got to do everything that you can to get out of this game as healthy as humanly possible. Preseason, there's a lot of learning going on. I get it. It's good. It's good that there's a lot of learning going on from coaches and players, but you got to try to get out of this thing healthy because, again, the age-old adage, and it's a cliche, the best ability is availability. So especially for these young guys and guys that are, fringe roster guys, get out of it healthy. Get out of it healthy. So we got a poll question, people. Let's bring it up here. We got a poll question. What rookie or first-year Steeler are you looking forward to seeing the most when the Steelers face the Texans in their first preseason game? Let me repeat that again for you. What rookie or first-year Steeler, they don't have to just be a rookie, or first-year Steeler, are you looking forward to seeing when the Steelers take on the Texans in their first preseason game? Leave those answers in the comment section. Yeah, who are you guys looking forward to? Me? I know you guys are going to be surprised. Peyton Wilson for me. I'm looking forward to seeing Peyton Wilson and Troy Fautanu. I want to see those guys get out there and mix it up a little bit. I know I've been raving about both of those guys, but I'm going to continue to rave about them. I like them. I think they're really good. I think they're going to help the Steelers this year and for years to come. I think they're really good football players. So leave those answers in the comments section. Now we got to halftime here, people. First off, I want to thank all the viewers and all of you guys. Again, we started this on April 4th of this year. We're just under 2,000 subscribers already. We're growing every day. And as I mentioned at the top of the show, that is all because of you. So I also did want to bring this up just real quick, our season schedule and how we're going to do things during the football season this year. I know we've been doing lives during training camp basically every day, except for the days the podcasts come out. But this is our schedule right here. So every Wednesday, we're going to have our podcast. It comes out at 7 p.m. Eastern time. We're going to be doing lives post-game like I've mentioned to you guys. So remember, 15, 20 minutes after every Steeler game, we are going to be live on YouTube. Come in with your questions, ready to rant, all that good stuff. We're also going to be doing a pre-game live show as well every Friday. What we're looking forward to, what we're not looking forward to, our concerns, all that good stuff. And again, if you guys have been in a live, you know it's super interactive in there, man. So we're having a ton of fun doing that. And then we're also going to have our hotline. You see the number down there on the screen. Use that number, call in, say a statement, a rant, and then on our podcast, we're going to play that, and then I'm going to react to it. So this is your opportunity to be part of the Wednesday podcast, the Wednesday show, is call into this hotline, let us know what you're feeling, good, bad, and different, and then I'll react to it on the show. And we appreciate everybody that's going to do that. Again, thank you guys for the support. There's a plethora of ways that you guys can help support the show. Again, Supers is just one way, and we've had several so far, so we appreciate you guys. You know that you control the conversation, and everything gets put up on the screen, so we appreciate you guys doing that. And like, follow, subscribe, all of that good stuff. We appreciate it. And more importantly, man, continue to leave those comments. Whether it's good or bad, leave the comments. Don't be disrespectful. I don't like disrespectful because I'll come back at you. Having said all of that, we appreciate it, man. Keep throwing those comments out there. I love going back and forth with you guys. Let's get back to the show here. So 3 Steelers are in the CBS Sports Top 100. Now, let me kind of explain this a little bit. The CBS Sports 100 is different from the NFL 100. So I want you guys to understand that. 2 different lists. I went off of the CBS list, and we're going to kind of compare the two And then you guys get in the comments section. We'll have a poll at the end of this. Kind of let me know what you guys think. So first off, TJ Watt on CBS was number 5. I think that's fair. On the NFL players had him at 8. And I'm like, well, hold on a second. What are we doing? What are we doing? I think 5 is fair. 8 is disrespectful. Let's call that. It's disrespectful. This one is even more disrespectful. On CBS top 100 NFL players, George Pickens is at number 65. Or, excuse me, number 6. Yeah, 65. He's not ranked from the NFL players. He's 68, excuse me. He's number 68, not 65. My bad. But he's not ranked in the top 100 by the NFL players. Not ranked at all. I just don't buy that, people. I don't. And first of all, where's the disconnect? I mean, I get it. These are NFL players. That doesn't mean that they watch all NFL players. That doesn't mean that they see every single guy. And I know we give a ton of weight, and we should give a ton of weight to guys that are actually playing in the league. But that doesn't mean they know everything, okay? Because they have the ability and they have the experience. That doesn't mean they know everything. It also doesn't mean that they're watching everybody. And for George Pickens not to be ranked at all, I find it to be blasphemous. Let's just say that. Let's use that word today. Blasphemous. It's crazy. It's crazy. So another one, Mika Fitzpatrick. Now, this one I can probably stomach. He's number 71 is when it comes to CBS, but NFL players, they have him at number 79. I can see that because Mika didn't have his best year last year. Now, he got hurt. He got banged up. He was out of position because of the limitations of others and injuries to others. He was having to do a lot of things that is not in his wheelhouse. But I can live with this ranking because, again, they're basing it off a year-to-year basis. And, yeah, he didn't have his best year. But going back to TJ Watt, if you're trying to tell me that there were 8 guys better than TJ Watt last year, I'm not buying that. I'm not buying it. I'm just not. Now, you go down the list here. Let's look at just some people that are just in our division. Look at the Ravens. Lamar Jackson is number 16 on CBS. 16. The NFL players had him second. I don't know. I don't know, people. I can't explain it. Kyle Hamilton, 36. Roquan Smith, 40. Justin Matabuke, 46. Mark Andrews, 61. That's 61, and he didn't even play half the year, did he? Yeah, weird. Derrick Henry, 91. And Tyler Linderbaugh, 100. I don't know. That's a lot of Ravens, number 1. Then you go to the Bengals. Jamar Chase, 13. Joe Burrow, 15. Trey Hendrickson, 33. Again, these are all on the CBS NFL Top 100. The Browns, Myles Garrett, 2. Disrespectful. Come on. Disrespectful. I'm not saying that Myles Garrett is not an outstanding player, a great player, a future Hall of Famer. I'm not saying any of that. But you're never going to convince me he's better than TJ Watt. Call me a homer. Call me whatever you want. I just watch football. And you can't tell me that Myles Garrett is better than TJ Watt. I'm just not going to believe it. And maybe that's the homer in me, but I know what I see with my own eyes. I don't need Pro Football Focus and to rely on their nerd analytics to tell me something that I need to know. No, I'll just watch the games and make my decision, which I think is what most intelligent people that watch football do. They just watch the games. And as long as they understand what they're watching, they can tell the difference. So, but 14 of the 100 are in our division. Think about that for a second, people. 14. That's why the hell our division is so damn tough. 14 players in the top 100 from the AFC North. Oof. Brutal. Either way, let's get to the poll. Got the poll question here. Let's pop that bad boy up here. So, what do you think has the best chance to have their name, or who is a better question. Who do you think has the best chance to have their name added to the NFL 100 list come 2025 from the Pittsburgh Steelers? Who do you think has the best chance to have their name added to the top 100 list? First off, I'd say right now, well, I think George Pickens. I also think Joey Porter Jr. And I also think Broderick Jones or Troy Fautanu. Those would be the three guys for me that could get added to either of the list. Those would be the three guys. I know George is on the CBS list. I think he's going to go way, way up. But yeah, those would be the guys right now that have the opportunity. And if we want to leave George off, okay, fine. Joey Porter Jr., Troy Fautanu, and Broderick Jones. I think those are the guys that may get added. I really think Joey Porter Jr., he was borderline, probably should have been on it last year. But it is what it is. It is what it is. Let's move on, people. Let's move on. Now, look, you're going to be mad at me, and I don't want you to be mad, but we've got to talk about it. We've got to talk about Brandon Aiyuk going to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Look, we're not going to get into the rumor mill. We're not going to get into the clickbaity nonsense. We're not going to do that today. What we're going to talk about is how we got here. So basically what we're going to do is, what would the Steelers look like with a draft? What do they look like if not with the draft, but with the trade? If they trade Brandon Aiyuk, what do the Steelers look like, man? You know, we know what they look like now. You know, we've got an idea of what the Steelers look like right now. But if they make this trade, let's talk about what the Steelers look like. First off, let's start here. How did we get here? How did we get here with Brandon Aiyuk? Well, the first thing is, you know, when he got drafted, he was a first-round pick. I would bet there's a lot of people that didn't know that he was actually a first-round pick. He was out of Arizona State. And that's why he wants to play with Jaden Daniels, because they played together at Arizona State. So I would venture to say half the NFL fans that pay attention and even know who Brandon Aiyuk is, they didn't know that he was a first-round pick. Well, he was. Okay. He was also immediately in the doghouse. Why was he in the doghouse? I don't know. I know Kyle Shanahan tried to come out and say that he wasn't, but yet the guy wasn't on the football field. So he's not in the doghouse, but you're not playing him. Tell me something else, Kyle. Don't just keep giving us coach speak. And if you don't want to say, just say you don't want to say. It's an eternal matter, and let's move on. But he was clearly in the doghouse. Now, the next thing is, how did we get here? How did we get here? Well, I think the first part of that is Brandon Aiyuk saw everybody getting paid, and he wants a new contract. He's on the last year of his deal. He's making good money. $14 million is obviously nothing to sneeze at, but he wants more money. He wants to get paid like he's seen Justin Jefferson, Amon St. Brown, Tyreek Hill, Devontae Smith, A.J. Brown. He wants to go out and get paid. And that's understandable. You know, it's his turn. But you got to take a little bit of a deeper dive into it, people. We really got to look at the minutia, should we say, of what's going on here. Now, in San Francisco, right now, let's go down the pecking order. When San Francisco wants to move the football, first off, they're going to run it with Christian McCaffrey. The second option, they want to throw it to Christian McCaffrey, okay? The third option, they want to run it with Deebo Samuel. Now, you could say that Aiyuk is the fourth option that they're going to throw the football to when it's time to move the football. You could say that Brandon Aiyuk is the fourth option. You could say he's the fifth, but we'll just say that he's fourth ahead of George Kittle. But those first three are absolutely the case. So when you think about it, and I'm sure this is what the 49ers are thinking, okay, hold on a second. You're the fourth option on our football team. Now, granted, two of those are with one guy, but it doesn't matter. You're the fourth option. Why do we want to pay that $30 million? What world is somebody paying a fourth option $30 million? They're not doing that. And I believe They're not going to do that. And that's part of this, is that the 49ers they're basically putting their feet in the sand and saying, no, we like you. We think you're a great player, but we're not going to break the bank for you. Now, they also have problems because we all know they got to pay Brock Purdy. Now, Brock Purdy also seems like the type that he might take a team-friendly deal and take a little less so he can continue to surround good players with. If he's smart, he's doing that. Again, I don't begrudge anybody for taking as much money as they possibly can. But what I will say is, if Patrick Mahomes can take less, he can take less too. That's the next guy can too. And I know Mahomes has $1 trillion more dollars that he gets from, off the field stuff, but whatever. If he can take less, he'll take less. And look at this list here of guys that have gotten paid. A.J. Brown, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, Devontae Smith. Justin Jefferson's not even on this list. He just got paid. CeeDee Lamb, which somebody tried to say that somehow that Brandon Aiyuk was better than CeeDee Lamb. I'm like, are you watching football? Like, they're in no universe is he better than CeeDee Lamb. And again, that's not saying that Brandon Aiyuk is a bad football player, but he is not CeeDee Lamb. He's just not. And that's okay. But man, there's some craziness going on out there. It's got some people's brains all twisted up with this whole trade nonsense. But yeah, look at those numbers. Are you willing to give Brandon Aiyuk that? The 49ers are not. And not only that, the 49ers have gone out and said, okay, you want to get paid this kind of money? Go find it. Go find it somewhere. Well, I think some other teams are like, we like you, we want you, but we're not going to pay you this. We're not going to give you that. And then that's part of the problem on some of the things that are going here. He wants more money. He deserves more money. He deserves a long-term contract. He does. But for what he's asking for, I just don't think the 49ers don't want to give it to him. And if I'm the Steelers, I would be very reluctant to do the same thing, especially in the type of offense that we run. And we'll get to that here in a minute. But that's what's going on right now. So, and that's the reason that the 49ers don't want to pay him, is look where he is in the offense, in the pecking order, and how much money he's asking for when we've got other things that we need. That's what it's coming down to, people. It's unfortunate, but it's just the truth. It's the truth. So what does he look like if he were to get traded? What would Brandon Aiyuk in a Steelers uniform look like? Well, let's break that down. First off, we know that we're going to have to give up some draft capital. That's number one. But number two, I'm guessing the Steelers are going to have to trade a guy or two. We've talked about this, linked on some lives on what we wouldn't do. 2 draft picks and 2 players is way too much. Plus $30 million on top of that. Yeah, no. But they're going to have to take something. They're going to get something. Do you trade Dan Moore Jr.? Do you trade a James Daniels per se? There was talk about Alex Highsmith. I think there's no way in hell that the Steelers are going to do that. Do you trade a young guy? I don't know. It's like the 49ers could use some help on the offensive line. They've asked about Calvin Austin Jr. That was the rumor that was going around, is that they wanted 2 seconds, James Daniels, and Calvin Austin in a trade. Come on. No. But that's what was going on. Also, is it going to happen? Look, Mike Tomlin, again, he gives us coach speak all the time. But part of coach speak is when they asked him about a trade, is there a trade going on for Brandon Aiyuk? He literally just said, I'll let you guys speculate about that. Well, why would he say that? Like, why would he create possible turmoil / friction / the unknown inside of his own locker room? Why would he do that? I mean, Mike Tomlin doesn't seem like a guy that that would create it. I'm not saying there hasn't been problems inside of a Mike Tomlin locker room, but it wasn't something that he threw out to the media to try to create it. He hasn't done that. And all he had to say was, hey, I'm focused on the guys that are in the locker room now, and we are very comfortable with these guys. He could have said that, and that would have been the end of it, because there would have been no speculation like I'm doing right now. I couldn't have done that. But Mike Tomlin didn't say that, people. All he said was, I'll let you speculate on it. Well, if we're and then kind of had a little shit-eating grin on his face. Okay. Well, if we're going to speculate, the Steelers seem like they got something cooking here. That's where I'm coming down with it. I think they got something cooking. I don't think they got to give up the world for Brandon Aiyuk. I think it's a mistake. But does he help us? Yeah. Yeah, he does. He helps us. And even though we got to give up some stuff to get him, let's not kid ourselves. Brandon Aiyuk and George Pickens turns into a top 5, top 6 wide receiver duo in the National Football League, if not higher. With some competent quarterback play and a good offensive line, yeah, that's something. Now, depending on where they're at, who knows? I'm just saying all of that. I mean, if Brandon Aiyuk is on the Steelers are better. Is he the missing piece to going to a Super Bowl? I don't think so. Because if he was, I would say we could give up a first-round pick for Brandon Aiyuk. And now nothing's guaranteed, so I'm not trying to pigeonhole you or anybody else into saying something like that. But if the Steelers had been so good, and then, hey, man, we get Aiyuk, this is going to put us right over the top into the Super Bowl, then I'd give up a first-round pick for that. But are we that close? I'm not saying we can't make a Super Bowl run. You damn well know that I hope we can make a Super Bowl run, or that we do make this Super Bowl run. But we haven't been close to that in years. Is Brandon Aiyuk changing that? For instance, if Aiyuk is on the team last year, are the Steelers sitting in the Super Bowl? Probably not. Not probably. Hell no, they're not. Now, him being on the team this year, I mean, we'll see. I think they have a better opportunity this year than they did last year, clearly. But I don't know, man. I don't know. It's tricky. I like Aiyuk. I think he's a great football player. Not a good one, a great football player. But for what we got to give up, including the money that we're going to have to sign him with, it's dicey. It's dicey. But I think you can get by with it because, again, the salary cap keeps going up. We're going to pay a quarterback, but it's not going to be one of these crazy quarterback, contracts where a guy's getting $55 million. We're not going to do that, whether it's Russ or Justin Fields or somebody else. We're not going to be doing that. So if you're not going to be doing that, well, then what? You got some room to pay some people. We'll see. And we know George Pickens is coming up. TJ Watt is going to be coming up. That's why I'm saying it's a slippery slope with this Aiyuk trade. But does he make the Steelers better? Yeah, he makes us better, man. He just does. Is it a high price to pay? Yep. But sometimes there's no reward without some risk. And sometimes you got to take a risk. And I think a lot of Steeler fans are wanting to, they're not going to settle for just winning a playoff game. But if we can win a playoff game and have hope that we could possibly go to the Super Bowl, that's what we want. We haven't had that hope lately. And it is sad. And it's time to get some of that. And if Aiyuk brings that to the table, then damn it, we need to do it. We just need to do it. So, look, man, moving on, the rumor mill is just about run its course with this Brandon Aiyuk thing. It has really run its course. At this point, the Steelers either need to do it or not. And what I've said, shit or get off the pot. It's one of those two. The rumor mill is just going absolutely berserk. It's time to get him. If he's going to be here, we got to get him into camp. We got to get him into camp, get him up to speed. It can't just be, we made a trade for him 8 days before game one. Absolutely not. That would be a disaster because it's a hamstring injury waiting to happen to where he's hurt all year long. We never got the best of him because he got hurt. because he hadn't been working out. He hadn't been practicing, and he turned it up too much in a game. That's the first thing. So if we're going to do it, it's time. I put a 48-hour window a couple days back. 48 hours is up, people. It's time for to either get this man in a Pittsburgh Steelers uniform or move on and go with what we've got. Arthur Smith offense doesn't always require a number 2 receiver, at least not a big-time one. Okay, fine. I'm sure it will run better if we have one. Okay, well, let's get him in and let's do it. Or let's not, and let's just keep plugging forward. Either way, we need to make a decision and be decisive and move forward. That's the best thing for this football team. But more importantly than that, we got a football game coming up, ladies and gentlemen. I know it's preseason. I know we're not going to see a ton of stars, but the Pittsburgh Steelers are going to play against somebody else, and we get to watch it. Can't get more exciting than that, man. So thank you guys again. That's all we got for you today. I appreciate everybody being here. Again, remember, you can always find us on YouTube at youtube.com/Steelers Almighty, all the social media platforms at Steelers Almighty. And again, anywhere you get a podcast, make sure that you tune in to Steelers Almighty. Until next time, people, aloha.